Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cece's Corner. I hope you can hear me and you can't hear the aircon in the back. I just got back from swimming and it's incredibly hot, so I hope you can kind of understand that there is not much natural light coming in. I hope you can still see me, hear me, and everything's good. I think recently I've done a lot of segments on things that I just thought it would be kind of necessary or cool to shine a light on, talk about more in detail, and also go into the background and a little bit more into like scientific research about what constitutes these things, what they're about, and what are we actually talking about when we're using those phrases, and trying to explain a little bit more about the context of things. But I think that this week I'm going to keep it very short, and I'm just going to talk about a few things that have been helpful for me specifically. So my journey, let's just call it journey. I've figured out a few tips and tricks that work very well for me. They don't need to necessarily work for anybody else, but they just make my life, and like especially daily life and routines that are everyday life, literally more bearable and just a little bit easier. So I thought, why not write them all down, talk a little bit about why I'm doing it, what I'm doing specifically, and how it works for me, because everything's super simple, nothing's complicated, but it just can maybe enable somebody else besides me to have a little bit less of a stressful day, week, whatever. So I just want to pass along what I've learned along the way. And then naturally, of course, next week we're going to follow up with the regularly scheduled program again, talking about some topics coming up in the next few weeks. So I again have some notes written down. So if you see me looking down, this is what I have and what I do. The main goal with those personal tricks and hacks that I use is to keep things going when I don't really have the energy or the brain to really think about some things because I'm running low or things aren't going so well, to still get things done. And then I use some of these tricks and hacks to focus on my mental and physical health and help support myself with that aspect. And then also help just keep things in order and get like chores done. So also talking about my space that I live in, or anything that alludes to Cece and her regularly scheduled program, things like this. So the first thing that immediately popped into my mind was the topic of meal prepping, and I know that people are fans or people aren't fans. It's usually very split. The reason that I do it is because I have, first of all, decision fatigue, but I'm also not a very gracious, hungry person. Let's just say that. I'm not someone who's very good at being hungry and keeping hungry until food is prepared. And then I just end up eating whatever I can find, which, first of all, is unsatisfying, but also often not super healthy. And that's okay sometimes, but it shouldn't be like the regular thing. So, in order to trick myself to eat my weekly veggies and like have everything that I need in my diet, I meal prep. And usually what I will be doing is I will genuinely just prep a huge tray of vegetables. That's one of the only things that I do almost every week. Reason being, if you have the veggies prepped, you can combine them. Okay. The reason being, if you have the veggies prepped, you can combine them. You can eat them with whatever you want. You can eat them with a protein. You can eat them with, some type of carbohydrate, or you can put them on top of the salad as a garnish, whatever it is that you want to eat. But then you have that basic stuff of your nutritional facts already taken care of, and you don't need to, after work especially, fumble and think about, shit, I need to chop all of those vegetables, things like this. So that's what I do. Depending on what I want to eat with it, I would also prep a protein of choice, just to have everything set and done. But my focus when meal prepping is definitely meals for dinner time. When I used to be very, very strict and like would follow certain rules I'd set to myself for a dietary plan, I would also meal prep for lunch. But I just ended up eating for like a solid week the same thing for lunch and dinner. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm no longer willing to be doing that to myself because that is boring. Plus, also, depending on the day, um, if you are hungrier or less hungry, it varies. So to be super, super strict, I don't recommend. But just in general, making things easier and making choices easier, and then having options is like a solid thing. So that's something that I always do. And then it's kind of like a good mechanism for control and also positive habit forming, but only, like I said, in moderation. Don't be super strict. Like my rule of thumb is I'm doing it and I have to continue eating it until it's all gone. But whether I eat it in 2 days or whether I eat it in 5 days, that is my individual choice. Plus, also, if I eat it in 2 days or I want to eat it in 5 days, that's my choice. But also, if I have it and I'm finishing it, it needs to be done in a certain amount of time, but it leaves me with enough flexibility to make the choice of whether I want to have something else, or if I'm like going away or going out, to have the choice of like, okay, what to do with the food. Like I can flexibly decide on what I want to be doing. Long monologue about meal prepping. Apparently, that was one of my most important things. So the second thing that I do is exercise. But I directly said exercise would make a routine. What I mean by that is that I have continuously exercised for X years of my life, to support my mental health. And it's gotten to a point where there is no longer this thought about, oh, do I feel like exercising? Am I going to be doing this? Or am I going to be doing this? Or what am I doing? It's just something that I do. Whether I feel like I want to or not, I just do it. But I'm more lenient now than I used to be, which means that I no longer, if I'm absolutely not feeling it, I no longer push. I accept that today is not the day. I make sure that to have proper like rest days, and I also include different types of exercise into my thinking when it comes to what I need to be doing. So a good thing that can count as exercise is fidgeting, which just means kind of anything that you can do during the day that's to do with body movement in some way, shape, or form can be considered fidgeting. Like, I don't know, if you're deep cleaning the apartment, that's also a type of workout. But then also replacing like shorter rides that I usually would use public transport for by just walking, or not using the car and walking instead. I'm pretty good at it, but I need to put more effort into actually making this a daily thing. But then also kind of incorporating fun exercise, such as, oh, I'm going to meet up with some friends and we're going to be walking around a lot because we are trying to do, I don't know, scavenger hunt or things like this. Something fun that's to do with movement, always super cool. And then I said, little day trips here and there that you can take that have to do with body movement in some way, shape, or form. But then also standing up and stretching during the day while you're in the office also counts, also helpful. And I said, it's good to push yourself. It's a note that I made, which says it's good to push yourself. It's good to force yourself to get over that slump and that feeling of, I don't really feel like doing it, and that's why I'm not going to do it. But it's also important to listen to your body. So on days when you are just overly exhausted, and you feel like you can't do it, don't push, because nothing's like gonna come of it if you don't do it for one day, and your body might have serious problems after if you push past a certain point. I'm saying like in extreme measures. So yeah, just make sure that you feel good while doing it. My goal is to always feel better after than I did before and feel happier. So that's the way that I do exercise. And then I said the third point is like adulting, doing chores, just things that everybody needs to be doing, such as, let's say, what are my nightmares? Laundry, taking out the trash, cleaning the house, making sure that everything's like orderly, planning ahead, um, packing things for work, things like this. I like to do it in a fun way, or I like to tell myself and talk myself into doing things a fun way, which, rewarding myself by making my favorite food after I've cleaned the house is like one thing. I like listening to fun music while I'm doing my household chores. Um, Sometimes I daydream, which is also really fun. I watch something in the background, or um, what also helps me is to plan it and do it at a specific time. If we talk about it, like, for example, the videos that I've been filming. I love doing this content thing. I'm doing it for myself, but do I always feel like sitting down and like preparing, doing all the research, spending like 5, 6 hours a week just on preparing before even filming or editing? No, I do not. Sometimes I really just don't, but I reward myself because it's rewarding to put the content out, it's rewarding for myself, and at the same time, I do like a little treat or something if I sit down. And it doesn't have to always be food related or anything like this, but I'm just saying, like, I make sure that I'm having, an enjoyable reward after I'm done with what I need to be doing. Um, this can also go for like things that you absolutely hate. Some people have like problems with making appointments. I personally hate going grocery shopping or taking out the trash. Those are things that for some reason I have stress about. Like, it gives me anxiety. I don't really particularly like it. It's gotten a lot better, but remind yourself that you have adult money and you can do whatever you want with that. And I'm not saying like, oh, for every little dumb chore that you have to be doing, you have to spend X, Y, and Z. But just get yourself like one of those little things where you can pump bubbles and blow bubbles. Simple thing, costs like, I don't know, $1. I don't know, but simple thing to be doing, and just high reward. Um, Also, I feel like, especially if you're having a hard time with your mental health, self care and rewarding yourself by taking care of yourself is so great. So, like, I don't know, if you've had a rough month, let's say, and you've done everything and you've been like a boss, and you've gotten things done, and you've still done everything that you needed to be doing, no matter how crappy you felt, get a massage, go like to a hair appointment, whatever floats your boat. Um, of course, you can also just reward yourself because you're still keeping your chin above water. Uh, that's super, super valid, and it doesn't need to be tied to an accomplishment. But specifically talking about chores and not being able to do them, that's something that works, I think. And there's also science behind it. Because, of course, if you reward yourself, your brain automatically kind of makes a connection between doing the chore and then after getting the reward. Therefore, happy feelings makes you want to do more chores or be more efficient doing chores. Um, the last thing that I put on my list is routines to loosely stick to. What I mean by routines to loosely stick to, um, there are certain to-dos during the week that we all have to get done. I like to make a plan ahead of the week to look at my schedule and see when I can fit those things in, and then I like to stick to it. Doesn't mean that if something comes up spontaneously, I can't move it around, or that I have to 1000% have to be doing it at this specific time or I will lose my shit. Not saying it like this, but just to get the concept of, like, if I'm saying I'm doing laundry Thursday, I'm doing laundry Thursday. Doesn't matter which time of day, but I'm just doing it to get it done. If you're one of those people who isn't used to being super flexible with this type of stuff and you need to be doing things at a certain time, I used to be like this as well, but you can learn to loosen up over time if you realize that nothing bad happens and that there is no consequence to doing it an hour late, an hour early. The most important thing is that you get it done anyway. And then I said different categories during the week, the weekend. Then I said additional organization required, and then I said holidays, vacations, because those are all situations where we need to plan and organize things in order to keep certain things going. Most importantly, try and keep like flexibility, but still build like a healthy amount of routines to give yourself structure and actually adhere to that structure as best you can to support yourself getting shit done even when you don't feel like it. That is something that has massively like impacted my life and like has been super super helpful, to just stick to those things and like really make sure that I plan ahead in order to have that controlling aspect while at the same time being a little bit more flexible with when I actually have to be doing those things. Um, these are just my specific life hacks, um, for myself. And then obviously, I have routines for Sissy as well that I adhere to, always keeping in mind that she needs X, Y, and Z as a support and that I'm the one responsible. So I try to really focus on what she needs with feeding times, but also, cleaning stuff and getting things done for her. And I just combine them into my routines at this point. It's natural, but if you have a pet, makes sense to just schedule things for them the same way you would for yourself, and then just stick to that as best you can. Flexibility is cool. Flexibility is awesome. Also, when it comes to that, but specifically, in that regard, make sure that yeah, you also build healthy routines for them to support them, but make it easier for yourself also to care for them. If I didn't have a proper schedule or like a system behind everything, sometimes I would just forget, or it wouldn't work the same way that it does currently. Um, I know this was a little bit different and all over the place, but those are just things that helped me, like personally, um, bring back like structure and make myself feel like I'm, in control and I'm getting done, while also building like healthy patterns for myself, making sure that like my mental health and physical health and everything is like on positive track. And however you define that for yourself is what counts and what is important. I do, however, like to say that I have had the privilege of being in therapy, um, and this is what massively like helped readjust. So don't think that if you keep doing those things or that you adhere to the tips that I've given, this can be enough support, but you can try it and see for yourself how it works. And maybe it can just be like a supportive type of vibe going on, like just to help aid with everything you're already doing. But things aren't just going to go away if you implement those little things. They're just here to help support, kind of being your own best friend. I've gone on a ramble, but this is important as a disclaimer. I hope you have a good day, and happy Sunday. Love you.